But only when you become comfortable with uncertainty can you innovate and evolve.
This is episode number 6 of the Archgyan podcast with Takbir Fatima. Hey guys, welcome to the Archgyan podcast. This is episode number 6, a serendipitous journey in design with Takbir Fatima, part 2. In the previous episode, Takbir spoke about her journey in architecture from the AA to starting design aware. In this episode, we speak more about a workshop called Fractals workshop and also about the 5 different innovative approaches of design in her TEDx talk, her views on the future of architecture, and a lot more. Do check out the previous episode if you haven't by going to archgyan.com/05. And please do give us a rating and subscribe to our podcast from whichever podcast platform you listen from. Now let's get right to the episode, a serendipitous journey in design, part 2 with Takbir Fatima. And also you're into workshops, right? So tell us more about workshops.
So what I believe that what we really owe to our future generations the most is education.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone can provide that, anybody who's educated. So I've always been really passionate about education and new ways of teaching because for as long as I can remember, I've heard my father talk about wanting to participate in education. As a child, I volunteered as an after-school tutor during my summer vacations. And also in CSIIT, in my undergrad, I was a teaching assistant right after I graduated.
Oh, wow. Nice.
But I actually started the Fractals workshop, not as a series of workshops, but I was invited by architect Jafar Khan, who was the director of Marg Institute of Design and Architecture, Swarnabhumi, near Chennai.
Yeah.
At that time, it was just like the first batch of the college.
Okay.
So he now runs the foundation year at VIT Vellore. So that was a new college, Midas, and I was invited to formulate and teach a design workshop. Nice. And I was given complete freedom to do whatever I wanted. And I didn't know what I was going to do. Okay. I was given the freedom and resources. And the most important thing that was given to me was faith. Mm-hmm. So I was allowed to formulate a workshop, and I sort of developed this workshop, which builds on some of the methods which are taught at the Design Research Lab at the AA.
Okay.
So that's when the Fractals workshop was started, and it was supposed to be a one-off thing, which became a series, and it's now been taught 22 times in different cities in India and the Middle East.
Oh wow! And it's still being taught, right?
Yes. So the most recent one was last month in Dubai Design Week.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And the next one is going to be in Coimbatore.
Yeah. So when is this happening?
We haven't yet decided the dates. So, yeah, we'll put it up.
Yeah. So what exactly is the design, your Fractals workshop all about? Yeah.
So it's a generative design workshop.
Okay.
And it's more of an exploratory process in which the participants don't, focus on the outcome, but the focus is on the discovery that happens in the design process itself. Mm-hmm. The serendipity.
Okay.
So I discourage students from thinking about the outcome or designing a preconceived form. The parameters are what they design, and these input parameters give the design output. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a process of developing. Yes, and they develop something like analog algorithms. So the students write their own rules, and then they put them into play and execute to see how they perform. And so they do material aggregation.
Okay.
So
this is again computational design.
It's the analog sort of process that goes behind, computation. So to begin with, it's more of a physical modeling workshop. So in the end, the output is physical aggregation systems.
Right.
And then, the advanced level of the workshop is where they can actually input these parameters into computation and see how they perform.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So at a time, this is a teamwork kind of based workshop. So there could be multiple agents working together on different experimental systems, and they don't know all the answers during the process. So we have to accept that there's no right or wrong answer. And in the process, you become more design aware.
Right. And most of the guys who are interested were students and were
Yeah,
they're also
students,
architects.
even young professionals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And you gave a TEDx speech, right, in
Yeah.
2016. So tell us more about the 5 different approaches that you took for your design and which you spoke about in your TEDx talk.
Okay. It was actually TEDx BITS Hyderabad in 2017. So my talk builds upon this issue that I have with this single solution syndrome. So there's no formula for design. You can approach it in multiple ways, and there's no right or wrong way to go about it. So I presented 5 different projects that have 5 very different approaches or starting points as the proof of my debunking the single solution syndrome. So I talk about interdisciplinary design, like borrowing methods and procedures and processes from other disciplines, using different and surprising materials, such as fabric, which we've been experimenting with. My mother's had a very close connection to tailoring and fabric craft. So from her work, I saw the possibility of manipulating fabric, and I wanted to try and do something structural with fabric. So I've learned tailoring as well.
Nice.
Some of these, projects borrow from other disciplines. So every project that we take on is like new. We never take the same path towards the answer. And I hope that we never do, because it's really easy, but it's also really boring.
And it's a
much
lot
more
of work,
fun.
right?
Yeah, I mean, if you take, it is a lot of work, but it's more fun and exciting trying to grasp for answers in the darkness. I mean, it keeps you stimulated rather than doing the same cookie cutter thing over and over.
But how do you sustain yourself? Because, a lot of people do the cookie clutter because it's easy and it brings in money, right? So, but
Of course.
But if you're doing something innovative all the time, it requires a lot of work and time. So can you tell us how you get about this?
I think, the focus is not on, how much time it takes or how much. I don't think it takes longer to do something new. I think it's just much more rewarding.
Okay, right.
So I think when you think about it in terms of a business, it's something that sort of sets us apart from many other practices who might be doing cookie cutter kind of designs. So that kind of gives us an edge. And I'm sure, if I say that we are still trying to grasp for answers in the darkness and not being able to see the end of the journey, I'm sure the clients would be rattled if they know that we don't know where we're going. But only when you become comfortable with uncertainty can you innovate and evolve.
Wow, that's a great quote. Have you had any negative experiences working as a solo entrepreneur architect?
To begin with, while I was working on the school, I was, by myself. Now we have a team. But then I think it's very difficult for me to remember the negative experiences because the positive ones, far outweigh the negative, because the worst days of those who do what they love are better than the best days of those who don't. So even if I have a really terrible year, at the end of the day, I'm still at the end of the year, I'm still an architect, and that cannot be taken away from me. So I'm still on a path to doing what I like and what I enjoy, rather than being stuck in the wrong direction. So I think, there are so many different types of experiences, and you learn from them. So every time we have we hit a roadblock, we go back and we change our protocol, and we approach the next project differently.
Awesome. And have you had any memorable or positive events or experiences you had working as an architect?
I think the first time that I stood on site and I saw something from my drawings and the models, which is actually built in real scale and real material, that was an exhilarating feeling. I felt like I was inside the model in a video game or a dream. So
that's definitely an awesome experience when you see what you design and it's being built. That's definitely a great experience.
Yeah, I think that's the best. That just makes up for everything else.
All right. And what one advice would you give to young architects in India or the guys who are starting on their own?
I have, I would say, three things actually. The first one is sharpen your skills, because architecture is like the learning process in this vast field. It just never ends. At the same time, there's new technology being introduced and developed every day. So it's important for us to be able to use it and apply it to our work and not make it a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, software or any other skill, it can't replace originality or authentic ideas. And ideas need to be given enough incubation time to develop. But you need to have the skill set that will allow you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we see, I hear a lot of people saying, this is not the right time for me to start my own practice. I'm waiting for the right circumstances. There is no right time to start your own practice.
Right.
Or even to do, I'm not advocating that every architect should have a practice. Architecture is so beautiful in that it allows you to take so many different paths. Not everybody is going to be doing the same thing. So for those who want to start their own practice or they want to do something that they've always wanted to do, don't wait for the ideal circumstances. The planets aligning and you're getting a divine sign or something. Right. There will never be the best time to start. The best time is now, and the best place is here. And your architecture practice exists because you have an idea. It's not bound by, an office space or team or, geography or age or time. Mm-hmm. It's like an organism, a live organism that keeps evolving along with you. So if you wish to do something, just take the necessary steps, If you, the universe will conspire to make it happen if you take a decision. So I think Ralph Waldo Emerson said that.
But don't you feel that architecture is a profession where the number of years you have as an experience, it helps in making you a better architect when you start practicing on your own, right?
Yes, definitely. So if you're going to start late, you'll have less number of years, right?
Okay.
So you need to start early. And also, you don't have to always know the final outcome. Before starting, you just have to take a leap of faith. So you divide your journey into smaller steps, and you do a little bit every day, like learning a software or reading a book, or you do a small competition project, or you work under somebody for experience. You can seek out like-minded mentors and take some time and sit with them. Any one of these steps will take you to the next level. So you have to take at least one small step at a time.
Can you give us some tips on how we can seek out for our mentors or people who could help us out if you're starting on our own?
I think there's no such, it's not like a very organized network that we have.
Right.
As architects. So I would say, probably you work for somebody whose work you really admire and whose process you admire. And then you have access to them. You have access to, you don't have to sit and pick their brain. You can actually see their thoughts and their ideas manifesting into the design projects that you're working on. And also you can, I think, approach people. It's easy to find, ways to access somebody these days through social media or email or something like that. And there's so many resources online as well.
Yeah.
It's not necessary to have a mentor, but you can have multiple mentors online from all over the world. So.
All right. Let's get to the business of architecture around for our episode. So what does it take to become successful in the architecture field?
I think it's more of grit and resilience.
Right.
So you just have to keep going. I wouldn't say anything technical or, some sort of list of tips or something, but it's all in the head. There will be many times when you're bogged down by so many things which are outside your control, or you might fail and you might be very close to giving up. I can only speak for myself because that's the experience I've had. The way I try to keep the fire going is you need to be able to bounce back. And I must give due credit to my support system, my family and friends who've really pushed me to keep going, even when I've almost given up. Especially my parents, both of whom will not allow me to give up on my goals. So, and when you're in a vulnerable state and when you're, kind of disappointed, people around you, their reaction really it has a big impact on you. Mm-hmm. So when people around you discourage you, you might give up. But when you have a support system of people cheering you on, it makes it a little easier to get up and run the race again after every failure. So I think just keep pushing towards the right direction. It's not just about if something's not working out and you're still pushing. That's not what I'm advocating, but I'm saying that the principle of the thing. So whatever principles you have, keep pushing towards those. And you might pivot your way of doing things. You might change your direction from time to time. But stopping is not a good idea.
Yeah.
You have to keep moving. That's
okay. And on our third and fourth episodes, we had Sushant Verma, who runs a lab called Rat Lab Studio.
Yeah.
And they practice a lot of, the computational design. And he spoke about future of architecture. So how do you see technology changing the way we practice architecture?
I think technology is quickly changing the way that we envision designs, the way we visualize them, the way we analyze them, and also the way that we execute and fabricate our projects. So for example, through virtual reality and augmented reality, you're able to quickly see things and get a real experience, and then you can change it. So there's something in the business world called MVP, minimum viable product. So that means that the most basic and cheapest, quickest workable design that you can come up with, just push it out into the world and give it to the user for testing. And that's exactly what we're able to do with virtual reality. Because before, this was something that couldn't be imagined in architecture because it takes months to realize even a small shed. But now with virtual and augmented reality, architects are able to put out an MVP for an almost real experience. And then, so architects must home into these technologies and adapt them to their practice. Apart from this, we must also be able to borrow technologies and methods from other disciplines and apply them to architecture. So
it's very important.
Yep. And we use software that was meant for automobile design and material which was used in shipbuilding, sportswear, and methods from computer programming. I mean, architects all over the world are doing this. So being insulated from other disciplines doesn't help architects, and it doesn't help the clients or the users.
All right.
So we need to be more open and sort of collaborative.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to the quickfire round. Which is your favorite architecture book?
I think Yes is More by Bjarke Ingels.
You're a big fan of Bjarke, is it?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I find I love the book because it's very readable and rereadable.
Okay.
It's an easy read.
Yeah, I'll put that up in the show link so people could check it out on Amazon. And who has inspired you?
Everybody should have that, especially students.
And who has inspired you the most as an architect?
I would say architect Anwar Aziz, who's a Hyderabadi architect. He's been my mentor since I was a student. He's very understated. His ways are very understated, so he's not really given enough credit as a Hyderabadi architect. But it's an honor to have access to his thought process, which is really ahead of our time. And I've learned a lot from him about how to conduct myself and what to prioritize when it comes to design. So he's always saying, don't compromise the principles. Everything else is negotiable.
Right.
And so I've also read this quote that says, stay married to the process and divorced from the result.
Wow.
So that's, I really like that because you can't control the result, but the process is what matters.
It's always a journey, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what is your favorite, which is your favorite material in architecture, or do you have any material in mind?
I know this is very cliche and old fashioned, but I love concrete. I still love the look of raw exposed concrete and everything that it stands for.
So you experiment a lot with concrete, is it?
Not really. I haven't really done too many experiments with it. We always try to use different materials with every project, depending on the project. So yeah, but I would love to work more with concrete. I like the look of it.
All right. And where do you see yourself and Design Aware in the coming years?
I think because we now have a sort of, we have a team that is set up. And what I would say is that we want to keep doing more of what we're doing. There's no, I don't want to sort of define a place where I want to be. But I think we're headed in the right direction. So probably more experimentation.
Okay, awesome. All right, coming to a close, what is your goal as an architect and bringing change to the world?
I think an architect is supposed to be able to envision future scenarios and possible issues and solve them beforehand. So it's not about, solving the issues which are immediate right now, but the future issues, and anticipate future issues, which will affect people, which will affect our cities, the environment, and lifestyles of people. It's not just about responding to existing immediate problems, but anticipating problems of the future, and also creating the design awareness and educating our clients and other people around us so that everybody becomes design aware. That's the pursuit that I'm in.
Awesome. Brilliant. All right, Takbir, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So, it was great talking to you too.
And how will our listeners get in touch with you in case they would like to collaborate or do some projects along with you?
They can contact us. We're very active on Instagram. So Design Aware on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. So guys, I'll put up all the show notes, what Takbir spoke about. And you guys can check it out at archgyan.com/06. Thanks a lot for listening, and we hope to have you guys in the future, and hope to have you, Takbir, as well in the future.
Thank you. I'd love to come back.